Hello, everybody, and welcome to another conversation around why Black Lives Matter. So a couple of things that I've picked up in just setting up the stream today. So it is officially a year since we've started this conversation. So tomorrow will be the 7th of July, which is literally a year from when we actually started the conversation last year. It's also quite fitting that in deciding on today's topic, we've literally come full circle with the sermon by Jeff and Shaleia on why Black Lives Matter. So their sermon happened at the end of June last year, and yeah, we've been having this conversation literally after our very first church tea time around why Black Lives Matter. We have now come to part 52, but it's really been just on a year of having this conversation. So yeah, I just thought that we'd share that with everybody in our introduction today, because I think our topic is quite fitting, that we've come full circle with not only the title of the topic, but also actually the intention behind why we started this conversation in the first place. And so as the team was deciding a topic this week, one of the things that came up was why there seems to be almost an energy of adversity with people asking people wearing t-shirts saying all lives matter or white lives matter. And it was kind of one of those things that was a little bit triggering to the team. And so I feel like it's quite fitting that we have come full circle to what the topic was intended to be and how we see it. And so, yeah, I just want to open it up to everybody and just find out how you're feeling about this energy of adversity in statements like all lives matter.
For me, as I was moving through it, there was this energy that I was picking up of like arrogance, of like that Black people aren't aware that all lives matter, but also this feeling that a lot of people weren't aware of like how we are affected or our feelings that are coming from things like the George Floyd murder and stuff like that. Like I feel like there's just like this arrogance that they're just not quite grounding and grasping the actions that are affecting how Black people move, how Black people feel safe in this world. And so there's just this feeling of arrogance and a little bit of pridefulness too. So I had to work through that myself, of really feeling of like, where was I being arrogant? And where was I being prideful? And so, yeah, that was energy that came up for me. I was definitely really triggered myself when I saw this. I was just like, well, duh, all lives matter. But the reason why we're saying Black Lives Matter is because it seems like it doesn't matter. That's the point. That's the purpose here. And so, yeah, for me, that's where I'm at right now.
So in your healing process, what was the healing piece for you? So what did it actually, like, I know you've shared some of the feeling, but what was the healing piece? Where did you need to actually go to in order to feel the feeling fully and heal the feeling fully?
I needed to go. So of course it was like, for me, it was my inner child about 6 years old, because it was the first time that I was introduced into school, and I was probably one of maybe 4 Black children out of the entire school, and it felt really. I just remember feeling like it wasn't fair. Like something just feels bad. Like this doesn't feel fair that I get picked on because of my hair color. I get picked on because I'm different from everyone else. It was just always coming at me about my looks and the way that I showed up because I was so different from everyone else. And I do remember feeling at times like I didn't matter because I was Black. And so I had to go into that space of releasing that feeling, releasing that, again, that arrogance of like that I didn't matter, that like to me, that was arrogant to me, that I believed that lie, that I wasn't enough, or that I wasn't equal to the rest of my brothers and sisters. And so for me, it was really having to go into that space and really love her and really choose to make the choice that just because my skin color is different than the rest of my brothers and sisters in my family, the family that I lived here with, my skin color was completely different than theirs. I had to really claim myself in that space. I had to really claim my truth and my true identity, which is I am a child of God, and really release any belief within me that I somehow wasn't equal or it wasn't enough.
Yeah, and so like even now when you talk about it, what feeling comes up for you right now?
There is a feeling that like I still somehow have to like defend myself a little bit.
Mm. Can you see that part of yourself that feels like she needs to defend herself because there's a potential that attack is real?
Mm, yeah,
What does she need in this space to feel loved right now?
just love and know that God is her protector.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be hurt.
Yes. And knowing that God is your protector, what does it free you from?
The fear that I can be attacked or hurt.
Mm-hmm. It also allows you to release the energy of fear in and of itself in that space.
Yeah, I choose to release that energy.
Mm. And being allowed to release that energy. Is there any part of you that may have a little bit of residual resentment in any way?
Yes.
Mm. What does she need to feel loved right now?
To forgive.
Mm. So is there a part of you that you need to forgive in this space at this moment?
Yes.
Mm. Would you like to just go ahead and give her all that forgiveness that she's longing for and that she's asking for? As you allow that forgiveness in, how do you feel now?
Relief.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like I can relax into my true divinity.
Mm. And as you relax into your true divinity, are there any new choices that you'd like to make right now?
Just to choose to release all resentment
Mm.
and just to choose to see myself as a complete equal.
Absolutely.
To also release all comparisons.
Yes. And having done that, you see that your experience, while you may not always have appreciated it, was perfect for you for where you were at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm in class. Look at me. Okay, look at me. I'm in class. Sorry, guys. The babies come in when I heal.
That's good.
Okay. Okay. Can you get that way, please? Baby loves. Thank you. Can you shut my door, please? Shut my door, please. Thank you.
Yeah, the babies are letting you know that you're doing some super healing of your inner child.
They do, absolutely.
How does that feel?
Feels loving.
Mm.
And also acknowledging that she still desires more attention here.
Mm. Would you like to just go ahead and give her that attention right now? Let it know that it's
Yeah.
safe to want attention. It's safe to want to connect. It's safe to want to feel safe.
Yeah, I think that was part of the upset too, with like people wearing those shirts, is that they were like calling out for attention.
Mm. Is it safe to honor their choices even though we don't agree with it?
Yeah, it's safe to honor their choice.
Mm. And when you honor that choice of other people, you allow yourself to honor your choices as well.
Mm. Yeah.
And so you can relax into the knowledge that it's safe because your choice is powerful.
Mm. Yes, my choice was powerful.
And knowing how much power you have, what do you choose to see in your reality?
I choose to only see peace and love in my reality.
Hmm. Can you also choose to see the connectedness that we all have with each other, even when we don't agree with each other's choices?
Yeah, I do.
Mm. And as you connect to all of that, you connect to the core of divinity.
Mm. Yeah, as you said that, like you've probably seen this image before of like children of all color with their hands holding hands like around the earth. That's exactly what I just saw. I'm in class. I don't know. Oh. Sorry about
The children all over the world are saying that we see you, sister.
that.
How awesome is that?
Absolutely. I love that.
How does that feel?
It feels uh, relieving and comforting. I guess a big part of it too is like a part of me was like wanting to like change. I wanted them to change now, but I'm realizing a big part of the bigger picture is our change right now is what's changing the future generations. What's helping the future generations connect and be one. And we're just healing kind of like that middle space right now, and bridging.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the healing is always timeless. So it heals in the past, and it heals in the present, and it heals in the future because it's timeless.
Yeah. Wow. That's truly how powerful we are.
Mm. And so when you think about somebody wearing a t-shirt now that says all lives matter, what's your feeling right now about it?
I agree. All lives do matter. I have compassion for them.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But does that statement carry any further emotional charge for you?
No.
Mm. Awesome. Does this feel complete to you?
Yes, it does.
Awesome. Would you like to just allow all of that to integrate and let it just be with you? And if there's parts of you that you need to walk home into the wholeness and the fullness of you, you have the power to do that right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that felt really good.
Yeah, it did.
So yeah, I want to just open it up to everybody else. Like, you know, I know that it is possibly an emotionally charging conversation, but at the same time, I think there's an educational piece that might be something that's worth exploring just in terms of what the past inequalities have perpetuated into the current situation. And when I say that, I'm specifically talking to the lack of access to opportunities because of a system that was historically skewed and a system that was historically not inclusive of people of color, and more specifically, Black people. And so I want to open that up to you and just kind of get your view of where you feel the piece of healing sits right now in relation to the question that I've just asked you.
It feels like there's a false sense of equality today. Like, it looks like we are all equal, but there's still some work. And also, like, most of the time, I don't want to say all of the people that are like all lives matter are of the white community, but like most of the time it's the white community, and it's bringing a memory of like someone holding a sign saying that all lives matter for you except Black, queer, Asian, trans people, everything. And so it feels like, you know, it almost feels like when you were talking about people that said, I don't see color, and it feeling fake or just like dumb because this is not the reality of what we are experiencing today.
Yeah, and actually, you know,
say,
I actually have to agree with you, because when I hear the statement of I don't see color, I almost have the sense of, well, then do you see me? I'm a person of color. So if you're not seeing color, what do you see of me?
I was gonna say that there's like a little bit of a consciousness of avoidance, because it's like predominantly most of the people who are using the whole all lives matter uh, facade is mostly the individuals who try to avoid, you know, the past that, you know, the African American community has, you know, experienced. Like, and I actually have a really good example of this. Okay, everyone, I want to see like a good participation of everyone here. Raise your hand if you have any knowledge of the Tulsa massacre. No? One. Who else? No one else? Okay. So I want you to raise your hand if you have any knowledge of Black Wall Street. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it? Okay. All right. So coincidentally, if you guys don't know about this, well, only Urine knows about this. So actually 100 years ago, to be exactly 100 years ago and some change, there was an incident that happened in Oklahoma, 1921 to be exact. And the Tulsa Massacre was a, what's the word that I want to use? Massacre. Okay, there was a tragic event where a community based in Tulsa, Oklahoma was burned down by a white mob. And uh, oh, and ironically, this happened on Memorial Day weekend. And ironically, the day that it happened was a day that our past Black Lives Matter session happened, June 1st. So while everyone's walking around saying, "Oh my God, happy Memorial Day weekend," like, bro, do you know what happened 100 years ago? Yeah, that's the point I wanted to make. That's all.
And I think that's the piece that I was kind of asking about, was that level of education, like, or sharing the knowledge, not necessarily education, but actually sharing the knowledge. So like you can very specifically say that that was the date because you've explored it or you found out. But I feel like there's this piece of education that like almost is evasive. And it's again, it speaks to that energy of avoidance that you were talking to, that if we don't look at something, we assume that it's not there, or we lead ourselves to believe that it's not there. So like you can call the what did you say, Tulsa massacre, like yeah. So like, you know, like I can tell you that I've heard something to that effect, but I can't specifically say it. But then also I'm not a US citizen, so maybe that's also part of the situation. But I feel like when there's this energy of avoidance, that's when the atrocities happen.
Yeah.
Because actually what happens is we avoid looking at what the problem is, and you can't just say that there's a problem. You know, like and I think it was in my statement in our conversation, like, acknowledge that there's a problem, but then also acknowledge that there are steps in order to either bring healing into that space or to change something, whether it's legislation or even how people are prosecuted for certain of these atrocities, or how it's shared in history lessons. Because one of the things that we spoke about a few weeks ago was about just whitewashing the history and removing historical African American and Native American individuals from American history that is taught in schools. And it's, you know, all of those little things is the energy of avoidance to me. It's the energy of, if I don't look, it can't be a problem. If I don't pay attention, then it doesn't exist. And it comes back to even with us when we do our healing. If you don't look at that place where you're needing to heal, that's where you get stuck. That's where you get stuck in your physical system. And so it's possible then that the country system and the world system gets stuck in those places where we do not bring awareness and healing and change to those places.
And the crazy thing is that it's actually being acknowledged right now. There's actually a press conference. Why am I being echoed? Who is that? Is that you, Granville? That is you. That is you. Can you
Watch me.
Mute. Yeah, mute.
Yeah, Deji's echoing through you.
Okay, hello. Now we're back. All right. So, yeah, there was actually a press conference where two survivors happened to tell their description of what happened. These people are over 100 years old. There was a 107-year-old woman, and then there's a 106-year-old man, and they spoke about, you know, how their perspective of how everything happened. They were 6-7 years old, and it was just like they went to such like horrifying like descriptions, like saying, oh, I was with my family, we were at home, and then you heard banging on the door and we had to run, and fire was everywhere, and this and that and this and that. It was like insane. And the thing is that a lot of people don't know about this, including like African American kids. They didn't even know we had a Black Wall Street. You don't hear about that in school from primary, elementary, high schools. You don't hear about that. It's not in the textbooks. You had to actually hear stories from like your grandparents and your mother's, father's, cousins, things like that. And yeah, so to make it clear, Black Wall Street and Tulsa Massacre are connected because the Black Wall Street was what was attacked and mobbed and burned down. Um, businesses, apartment community. I'm sorry, living communities, and just yeah, it's a whole community that was attacked by a white mob, and this happened on Memorial Day weekend from May 30th to June 1st of 1921.
So there's a possibility that this part of history is not taught because it's linked to a huge part of guilt that people aren't ready to look at yet. Like, how are you gonna explain to your kids that you destroyed Black Wall Street because you wanted to build Central Park and you didn't want competition of a Black community in your Manhattan area? It's like, I feel like still to this day, for example, if I take Europe's history, you are never gonna have the same look at the world wars, depending on where you are, because people are still or just yet recognizing their implications with massacres and genocides and horrors of just having begun a war like that took millions of lives. And so it's even worse with history that involves minorities, because, well, I don't know, in saying like all lives matter and Black Lives Matter, I just like feel the energy behind it, and it's just like, I don't want to talk, either I don't want to talk about things that make me uncomfortable, or either I want to be the spotlight of history in some way. And so when people say Black Lives Matter, some other people say, what about me? As if, yeah, it's like this history of, I guess, competition between people that eventually lead to hurt, to guilt, to selfishness, I guess. And yeah, and when it's transferred to generations, and if you don't heal it, it's transferred to your next life, and I guess that's how it's perpetrated. So yeah, I'm just trying to feel like what's the core of all we've been saying right now.
I love what you said there about like the competition. I just watched something, and the woman was talking about like, if we could just heal competition in the world, like that would be one of the like biggest things that we could do. Because when you think about it, like we're in competition with water, with food, all these things that are abundant, but yet we're in competition on who could have the highest sales, and it like puts people against each other just so that they could profit. And so there's something about that energy there. I appreciate you bringing that up.
So I have the sense that all of you have touched on some very deep parts that could speak to the healing. So the one thing that Deji touched on was a very strong energy of avoidance, but also a very strong energy of pain. There's a lot of hurt behind all of those things that have happened. There's a lot of marginalization, a lot of almost arrogance behind kind of some of that stuff. And then Yureen touched on a very similar thing in terms of acknowledging what has actually happened, which is also a very, like it requires quite a bit of strength to say, well, hey, actually, this was a proper core stuff up in our history. And then what Kanisha touched on was an energy of serious control in terms of competition. And I think that's kind of fueling the problem, is that lack mentality, that control mentality, that mentality of we can't allow other people to show up in their space because it makes us feel like there's no space for us, kind of thing. And I think that's the energy of adversity that we're still dealing with. But at the core of it, it's the energy of fueling struggle behind difference. There's still the energy of not enoughness, or the difference justifies the bad behavior. Which is something that I think is possibly the thing that we started off our very first tea time on, was around healing the pain behind difference and the things that were done in the name of being different. How do you guys feel about that?
What comes up for me mostly is, like, with all of this in general, is like letting go of victim mentality and really claiming my power here and healing all of this within myself so that I don't keep attracting these things. Yeah, that's what's coming up for me. Because even though there is like a bias, because you mentioned something about like being different, and then it like kind of being okay for certain things to happen. That comes up a lot for me, like being treated differently. So it I think I'm echoing through your thing. Sorry.
Say what?
The echo.
I don't understand why it's echoing though.
It could just be your computer volume. Just needs to go down a little bit.
Is that better? Is that
it got better? It's still there. I don't know.
I don't hear it. I don't hear
Okay.
it.
Okay. So anyway, as I was saying, it's like this being treated differently. It kind of is the same healing that I brought up at the very end last discussion, where it was like these feelings of me feeling inferior or not equal. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with all of this. But like the avoidance for sure too, because like that would reflect me like wanting to avoid myself. Because one thing that came up when Deji was speaking with the avoidance is I've had like people say to me throughout my life, like, oh, you're mixed? Like, oh, I didn't know that. I just thought you were white. And I'm just kind of like, that doesn't really feel good to me, because then like you're avoiding this whole part of me, you know, and not like seeing me for who I really am. So like, you know, I'm just choose to see who I really am and claim my power.
Yeah, so I think my feeling here is that there's a healing piece that you've brought up twice now, at the end of last week and this week. So if you're comfortable, let's actually go into that healing piece, because I think that's the fact that it's come up twice.
Yeah,
is quite important. So how do you feel about going through that healing process right now?
I feel good.
Good.
I can feel it now.
So what's the feeling that you have right now?
Just like sadness, pretty much. Like, I guess like not claiming my divinity.
Yeah, don't rush. Relax. You don't have to do this alone. So can you see that part of yourself that's feeling sad right now? What does she need to feel loved right now?
Just a lot of love and acceptance.
Would you like to go ahead and just give all the acceptance that she's asking for right now? As you give her all the acceptance that she's asking for right now, give her all the love that she's asking for right now. And as that love and acceptance settles in, what is the next feeling that comes up for you?
Like feeling misunderstood.
So can you see that part of yourself that you are misunderstanding right now? What does she need to release that misunderstanding?
Just compassion and understanding.
Would you like to go ahead and just give all the compassion and understanding that she needs?
Yeah.
As you allow, and as you give her all the compassion and loving and understanding that she needs, what does it allow her to let go of?
How do I put words to it? I guess just like the misunderstanding and like understanding other people. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels a lot better. Because I feel like before I would want to like get angry or something if like conflict arose, but like having power means like I can just I could just heal it within myself and like let go of all of the illusion and drama that comes up.
Yeah, and healing all of it inside of yourself doesn't necessarily mean that there may not be actual physical steps for you to take as well, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
And so it's appropriate for you to allow those to be revealed to you as you process your healing.
Yeah, I like how you put that too, because I don't want to like control it either, you know, but allowing it to be revealed, it feels good.
And knowing that it's a combination process, how do you feel about being misunderstood?
I feel a lot better about it now.
Is it possible for you to actually be misunderstood in the first place?
No.
No, because as a divine child of God, you can bring clarity into every space as you partner with God. That's the power you have. And so sometimes that clarity looks like doing something or saying something, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, it feels good to just let God take care of it.
Yeah, and God will reveal the steps to you that you need to take care of. And if that means a boundary, if that means sharing knowledge, if that means re-educating yourself or other people, you can't be sure unless the step is revealed to you, and you will know your part when it's revealed as your part. So how does that feel?
It feels good.
And when you feel into all of that now, does it feel complete, or is there anything else still sitting underneath the surface there?
Yeah, I still feel something. I think it's
You
just
choose to allow it to
resentment.
surface? Does that resentment serve you in any way?
No, it does not.
So what would be the most appropriate thing to do with it?
Release it. Give it to God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So much more fun to partner with God in that space. And knowing that you can partner with God, how does that feel? How does it overall feel now?
It feels lighter.
As you feel your lightness returning to you, would you also like to just choose to allow your power to return to you in that space?
Yes, absolutely.
How does that feel?
Good.
Having done that healing now, what understanding do you require from other people right now?
Good question. I guess that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, but you don't really need any understanding. To require understanding is to expect something of other people, and you can release expectation in this space. Let God provide them with the clarity that God has provided you with.
Yeah, I see what you mean now.
How does that feel?
A lot better.
Mm.
I don't want to expect anything.
When you release expectation, you allow for life to surprise you. How cool is that?
Very, very cool.
Mm. Does this feel complete to you? Is there anything else coming up for you?
I feel good about that now.
Mm. But you feel good about it, but does it feel complete?
I think so. There's like nothing else really coming up.
Okay, but if you think so, then you don't really feel so. So I'd like you to feel.
Yeah, it feels complete.
Good. Good. Would you like to just allow all of that to settle in? Just let it be with you. Just be in it.
Feels good.
Good. Deji and Yureen, having gone through that healing process with us all together right now, how do you feel about the two pieces that you guys brought?
I feel like I still felt something else there. I feel like there's some I don't know, I feel like it's selfish from people to deny the meaning of Black Lives Matter.
And feeling that, and just the sense that you have that it's selfish, how does that actually make you feel?
Not valued.
Say that again.
I don't feel valued.
And can you see that you're that piece of the part of yourself that's not feeling valued right now?
Yes.
When you ask her what she needs to feel valued right now, what does she tell you?
She needs my attention.
Would you like to go ahead and just give her the attention that she's asking for?
Sorry.
Mhm. And as you give her that attention, what else does she need right now to feel valued?
There's this feeling that what matters to us is being hidden or pushed back. So,
And so is there possibly a part of yourself that you're not allowing to fully show up?
yeah.
Mm. And why would you do that? What is stopping you from allowing that part of yourself to fully show up?
In truth, nothing, but
Mm.
I think I was used to being told that I couldn't be that part of myself.
So maybe the illusion of a barrier?
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Would you like to just release that?
Yeah.
Hmm. And as the barrier falls down, what is possible now?
Love.
Hmm. What else?
Peace.
Mm-hmm. Is it also possible for greater expansion of you into the space that you occupy?
Yeah.
Hmm. How does that feel?
That feels good. Quite natural.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's the most natural thing because that's who you are.
Yeah, that feels peaceful. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really cool. How are you feeling right now, Deji?
What came up for you? Can you mute? What came up for me was as I was speaking about the avoidance consciousness, it brought up a time from, when I was a kid, um, TV was all I knew. I wasn't really, a kid that, was outside and things like that. And, the television was what gave me my knowledge of everything that of everything that I knew. And, in school, obviously. So as I said before, school wasn't teaching, us about these stories that were being avoided. And, when I would hear these stories from family members, I would think are you lying to me? Like, where, yeah, just like, that's not like that, that innocent, that's not true, things like that. And I had to forgive myself for not believing them at the time. I had to forgive myself for not listening to, you know, not listening to my brothers and sisters and, and actually acknowledging and not avoiding it. That's about it.
Okay, so just a question.
Mm-hmm.
Having gone through the acknowledgement and the forgiveness process, what has that allowed you to do Or what has that allowed you to do or be free of?
Maybe arrogance.
How does that feel to you?
It's much lighter, and like a wall came down. That's about it.
Okay, and in releasing the wall, what does that allow you to expand into? Because walls generally keep things either contained, as in keep it inside, or they keep things out.
Keeping things out.
So what has it allowed for you to experience in your life that you may not have been able to experience because you've released the wall that you've built around yourself, having heard all of these things?
I would say acknowledgement and honoring and yeah, that's about it.
Hmm. And so the reason why I'm asking you the question, because it's always important, and I think one of the things that we've learned is just share that piece of the healing, because it completes the healing. So the reason why I'm asking you the question is because I find for myself that when I release the walls, I allow in more evidence that things are not awful, or I allow in evidence to give me more positive experiences and things like that. And that's why I'm asking the question, because has it shifted something in your reality to have released those kind of things?
Yeah. Like you said, taking in the negative experiences that have happened and not avoiding them whatsoever.
Cool. And even in looking at it, you don't have to take on the negative. You're just looking at it from an experiential point of view of this is what has happened. You don't necessarily need to take the negative lesson with you. It's just knowledge at the end of the day. And I think that's one of the things that I was kind of pointing to earlier is knowledge is always useful. It's good to know, but you can't just know for the sake of knowing. If you have a piece that says, I can bring this to the table to shift the needle. And I think that that's the thing that we need to bring back into the awareness of everybody in terms of why Black Lives Matter, for the reason that things like situations like George Floyd happened, or situations like, I mean, you mentioned quite a few names at the beginning, like the Philando person, just yes, that his daughter saw all these weird and wonderful things, and just the experience of what we've spoken in the past about a teenage girl that was attacked for actually protecting herself and those kind of things. And these are the reasons why it is important to have the conversations and to actually highlight the changes that need to happen. And that's why Black Lives Matter, because there has been so much significance in terms of oppression and suppression and all those kind of things. And again, it comes back to, if you don't bring the spotlight to something, it continues. And my sense is that it's not new. It's just being highlighted more, it's being spoken about more, it's being acknowledged more. There are more people that are aware of it. And so it's also going to bring a lot of awareness on the opposite side of the coin to say, well, I'm also here. This is also here. Nobody's saying that all of those things are not there. And I think that's the thing that for me is important to just highlight. Nobody's saying that nobody else's life matters. We're saying that it's important to speak about this right now because it has been such a significant thing in our history. And yes, it may be shifting. But would it have shifted significantly if there was no conversation about it or not? And these are the questions I'd like people to ask themselves before they go around saying, well, why is there this movement or that movement or whatever movement? When does a movement actually really need to happen? When nothing's being done about it, or it's being ignored, or people actually just feel like the status quo remains. And no matter how much we want to say it in any other way, the status quo was not serving anybody. And so it's important to have the conversation around why Black Lives Matter. So yeah, I think that was my piece to share for tonight. We've literally been just slightly over the hours. So I am going to say thank you to everybody for the conversation today. I want to say thank you to everybody that's been following us. And yeah, to the team, happy anniversary. It's been a full year. We'd also like to invite everybody to like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel, where you will find all our previous conversations around why Black Lives Matter. We also invite you to share your thoughts and experiences and insights, and possibly even views around future topics. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week.